You think you're making choices. You're not. Your brain decided what you'd do 3 seconds before you became conscious of wanting to do it. Carl Jung discovered something that made him question everything about human consciousness. We don't live in reality. We live inside a prediction our unconscious wrote years ago. But here is the part that terrified Jung most. Your future is not unknown. It's already written. Every relationship you'll enter, every mistake you'll repeat, every moment of suffering you think is random. It's all predetermined by a biological algorithm running beneath your awareness. And you call this script fate. Your brain is not a camera recording reality. It's a projector. Right now, as you read this, your brain is not processing what is actually happening. It's generating what it expects to happen based on patterns from your past. Time, 0.6. A woman who keeps dating emotionally unavailable men isn't unlucky. Her prediction algorithm is selecting them. A man who keeps getting fired isn't incompetent. His complex is creating conflicts that confirm his prediction of failure. Your brain doesn't want accurate predictions. It wants consistent predictions. It would rather be consistently wrong than inconsistently right, because consistency feels like control. Consistency feels safe, even when that consistency is destroying your life. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot. They're not responding to reality. They're responding to predictions generated by unconscious complexes formed in childhood. You're not afraid of what might happen. You're afraid of what your complex predicts will happen. You're not angry at what someone did. You're angry at what your complex predicted they would do. You don't love someone for who they are. You love them because they fit the prediction your complex made about who you need. Jung said something that sounds insane until you understand prediction algorithms. He said most people are possessed by their past, not metaphorically possessed, literally possessed. An unconscious complex takes control of your consciousness and makes decisions for you. You think you're choosing, but you're not. The complex is choosing. The prediction is choosing. The past is choosing. Here's what makes this truly horrifying. Your gut feelings are hallucinations. That intuition you trust, it's just your prediction engine running faster than your conscious awareness. That sense that something is wrong, it's not psychic insight. It's your complex detecting patterns that match its predictions and flooding your body with stress hormones to make sure you act in ways that confirm the prediction. You're not sensing danger. You're creating it. You're not detecting red flags. You're painting everything red because that's what your complex predicted you would see. You feel anxious not because something bad is happening, but because your complex predicted something bad would happen and it needs you to act as if it already did. Think about your last relationship. Did it end because of what actually happened? Or did it end because you predicted it would end and then behaved in ways that made that prediction come true? Did you really catch them lying? Or did your complex predict they would lie, and so you interpreted ambiguous evidence as proof? Did they really betray you? Or did your complex make you test them until they finally failed? The most dangerous realization Jung made was this: if you don't break the prediction, your future will be an exact replica of your past. Not similar to your past, an exact replica. You will have the same relationships with different people. You will make the same mistakes in different contexts. You will feel the same pain in different situations. Because you're not living in the present. You're living in a script written by your unconscious. Let's examine a narrative illustration that demonstrates this pattern perfectly. Consider a case profile based on patterns Jung consistently observed throughout his clinical work. A woman came to him in desperation. She had been in 7 relationships. All 7 ended the same way. The man would seem perfect at first, attentive, loving, committed. Then gradually he would become distant, cold, critical. Eventually he would leave her for someone else. 7 times this happened. 7 different men. Identical pattern. She thought she was cursed. Jung's analysis revealed something more disturbing. She wasn't cursed. She was running a program. Her unconscious had formed a complex in childhood when her father became emotionally distant and eventually abandoned the family. That complex created a prediction. Men who seem loving will eventually become cold and abandon you. And then her brain, trying to be helpful, trying to keep her safe, made sure that prediction came true every single time. How? By unconsciously selecting men who matched the pattern. By interpreting normal relationship fluctuations as signs of impending abandonment. By becoming anxious and clingy in ways that pushed men away. By testing their commitment until they failed. Her complex wasn't predicting abandonment. It was creating abandonment. And then using that abandonment as evidence that its prediction was correct. This type of patient initially refused to believe Jung's analysis. The insistence was always the same. These were 7 different men with 7 different personalities, who just happened to all be liars and cheaters. Jung's approach involved asking a question that often changed everything. What if you're the constant variable? What if your unconscious is selecting these men because they fit your prediction, and then training them to behave exactly as your complex expects? This is what Jung called the shadow algorithm. Your unconscious mind has more control over your reality than your conscious mind does. Because your unconscious acts first. It selects your environment. Empaths aren't broken, they're alchemists in progress. The alchemist's path gives you drills, Jung-based boundaries, and 3 exclusive chapter videos to turn overwhelm into clarity. By Surreal Mind, 236-page downloadable ebook, in stock. Begin now at thesurrealmind.com. It interprets your experiences. It generates your emotional reactions. All before you become consciously aware of what's happening. You think you're making decisions. But by the time you're aware of wanting something, your unconscious has already decided and is now just generating a story to make you think it was your choice. Neuroscientist Benjamin Libet proved this in groundbreaking experiments that terrified the scientific community. He measured brain activity while people decided to press a button. He found that the brain showed clear evidence of the decision 300 milliseconds before the person became consciously aware of deciding. The unconscious decided. Then consciousness claimed credit for the decision. You're not choosing. You're narrating choices your unconscious already made. Jung realized that free will, as we typically understand it, is an illusion. Not because we're puppets of fate, but because we're puppets of prediction. Your unconscious generates predictions based on your past. Then it makes those predictions come true. Then it makes you believe you freely chose the outcome. You didn't choose. Your complex chose. Your prediction chose. Your past chose. The prediction doesn't just control your behavior. It controls your perception. Your brain literally filters reality to match its predictions. Information that confirms the prediction gets amplified. Information that contradicts the prediction gets suppressed. This is called confirmation bias in psychology. But it's not a bias. It's how prediction engines work. They can't function if they're constantly updating based on contradictory evidence. So they don't. They filter out contradiction and amplify confirmation. This means you're not seeing reality. You're seeing your prediction of reality. The person standing in front of you might be kind and loving, but if your complex predicted they would be cold and rejecting, that's what you'll perceive. Not because they are cold and rejecting, but because your prediction engine needs them to be cold and rejecting to maintain consistency. We see this mechanism illustrated clearly in another composite pattern Jung documented throughout his work. Consider this case profile. A man came to therapy convinced his wife was having an affair. He had no evidence, just a certainty, a knowing. Jung's exploration revealed a complex formed in childhood. His mother had an affair that destroyed his family. His unconscious formed a prediction. the woman you love, will betray you. Now, years later, married to a faithful woman, his complex was running that prediction. It made him hypervigilant for signs of betrayal. It made him interpret innocent behaviors as suspicious. It made him interrogate her about her whereabouts. It made him check her phone and accuse her of lying. Eventually, exhausted by his constant suspicion and accusations, she did have an affair. This is Jung's most famous quote. And it's not philosophical wisdom. It's a warning about prediction algorithms. Your unconscious is running predictions right now about your career, your relationships, your health, your future. And those predictions are not passive forecasts. They're active instructions. Your brain is using them as blueprints to construct your reality. The person you'll meet tomorrow, the opportunity you'll miss next week, the mistake you'll make next month. Your complex already knows, not because it can see the future, but because it's writing the future. It's generating predictions and then making sure those predictions manifest. You think you're navigating an uncertain future. You're not. You're executing a predetermined script written by your past. So how do you break the prediction? How do you escape the algorithm? Jung spent decades developing a process he called individuation. It's not therapy in the traditional sense. It's consciousness hacking. You can't change the prediction by thinking about it, because thinking is just more prediction. You have to create what Jung called a conscious shock, a moment where the prediction fails so dramatically that the complex is forced to update. This requires brutal honesty about your patterns. You have to stop trusting your immediate reactions. Those reactions are not real. They're generated by your prediction engine, when you feel certain about someone's motives, when you know what's going to happen, when your gut tells you something is wrong. That's not intuition. That's your complex running its prediction. And if you act on it, you'll make the prediction come true. Instead, you have to observe the prediction without acting on it. Jung called this active imagination. When you feel the urge to test your partner because you predict they'll fail, don't test them, just observe the urge. Notice how your complex is trying to create evidence for its prediction. When you feel certain someone is lying because your complex predicted they would lie, don't accuse them. Just observe your certainty. Notice how your brain is filtering their behavior to match your prediction. This is incredibly difficult because your complex will fight to survive. It will generate intense emotions to make you act: fear, anger, disgust. These emotions are not responses to reality. They're tools your complex uses to make you act in ways that confirm its predictions. If you can observe these emotions without acting on them, the prediction starts to lose power. The neural pathways start to weaken. The algorithm starts to update. But observation alone isn't enough. You also have to act against the prediction. Jung called this shadow integration. Your complex predicts you'll fail at something difficult. So you have to do that difficult thing anyway. Your complex predicts people will abandon you if you're authentic. So you have to be authentic anyway. Your complex predicts you'll be hurt if you're vulnerable. So you have to be vulnerable anyway. Every time you act against the prediction and the predicted outcome doesn't happen, you create new data that forces the complex to update. Your brain is a learning algorithm, but it only learns from data that contradicts its predictions strongly enough to overcome its confirmation bias. You have to create experiences that are so different from what your complex predicted that it can't filter them out. This is why Jung said individuation requires courage, not the courage to face external threats, the courage to face your own prediction engine, the courage to admit that most of your suffering is self-created, that most of your certainty is hallucination, that most of your choices are unconscious, that you've been living inside a prison built by your own past. Returning to our earlier narrative illustration of the woman with abandonment patterns, she went through this process of conscious observation and counter-prediction behavior. She stopped acting on her predictions. When she felt certain a man would abandon her, she didn't test him. She observed the feeling. When she wanted to become anxious and clingy, she didn't. She acted secure even though her complex predicted disaster. And something remarkable happened. The prediction failed. The man didn't abandon her. Her complex was forced to update. It took 2 years. 2 years of continuously acting against her predictions, of feeling the fear and not acting on it, of observing her complex trying to create abandonment and refusing to help it. Eventually, the neural pathways weakened. The algorithm updated. She formed a new prediction. Men can stay. Love can last. Safety is possible. And once that new prediction formed, she stopped unconsciously selecting men who would abandon her. She stopped interpreting normal behavior as signs of abandonment. She stopped testing commitment until it failed. Her reality changed because her prediction changed. This is the escape from fate, not by controlling the future, but by updating the past. Your complex is made of memories and the predictions formed from those memories. You can't change the memories, but you can change the predictions by creating new data that contradicts them. Every time you act against your complex and survive, you weaken its power. Every time you observe your prediction without acting on it, you create space between stimulus and response, between prediction and behavior. That space is freedom. But Jung warned about something crucial. Most people never do this work. They live their entire lives inside their predictions. They have the same relationships over and over. They make the same mistakes over and over. They feel the same suffering over and over. And they never realize they're doing it to themselves. They think they're victims of circumstance, of bad luck, of other people's cruelty. They don't see the complex. They don't see the prediction. They don't see that they're writing the script. And even when someone points it out to them, most people reject it. Because accepting it means accepting that you've been unconscious, that you've wasted years living out predictions instead of possibilities, that you've hurt people because your complex needed to confirm its beliefs, that you've missed opportunities because your algorithm predicted failure, that admission is too painful, so most people double down on their predictions instead of updating them. This is why Jung said awakening is rare, not because it's difficult, but because it's terrifying. It means admitting that the story you've told yourself about your life is a lie generated by your unconscious to make you feel like you had control when you didn't. It means accepting that you've been a prisoner pretending to be free, a puppet pretending to be a person, an algorithm pretending to be aware. But if you can bear that terror, if you can face your own unconscious and admit that it's been running your life, then something miraculous becomes possible. You can rewrite the code, you can change the prediction, you can break the pattern. Not by thinking differently, but by acting differently. By observing your complex instead of obeying it. By creating experiences that force the algorithm to update. Your brain is plastic. Neural pathways can be weakened and new ones can be formed. Predictions can be updated. Complexes can be integrated, but only through conscious effort, only through repeatedly acting against the prediction until it loses power, only through forcing your unconscious to face data it can't filter out or explain away. This is what Jung called the process of becoming conscious, of making the unconscious conscious, of transforming from someone who has lived by their past into someone who lives in the present, from someone who executes predictions into someone who makes choices, from someone who is possessed by complexes into someone who integrates them. The work is simple, but not easy. Watch your certainty. Every time you feel certain about what will happen, or what someone means, or what you should do, that's probably your complex running its prediction. Don't trust it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what prediction is this certainty based on? What complex is generating this feeling? What past experience is being projected onto this present moment? Then act against it. If your complex predicts failure, try anyway. If your complex predicts abandonment, be authentic anyway. If your complex predicts judgment, be vulnerable anyway. Create experiences that contradict your predictions. Force your brain to update its algorithms with new data. And most importantly, stop defending your predictions. Stop explaining why you were right to be suspicious, right to test them, right to protect yourself, right to expect the worst. Every time you defend your prediction, you strengthen it. Every time you justify your complex, you empower it. The prediction doesn't need to be right. It needs to be dissolved. You're living inside a prediction written by your unconscious based on your past. That prediction is creating your future right now. Every relationship, every opportunity, every moment, your brain is executing the script, making sure the prediction comes true, making you think it's fate when it's just programming. But you don't have to stay in the prediction. You can break the script. You can make the unconscious conscious. You can transform from someone who is lived by their past into someone who creates their future. Not by positive thinking, not by affirmations, but by conscious shock, by acting against your complexes until they're forced to update. Until you do this, your future is not unknown. It's already written. It's whatever your complex predicted years ago. The same patterns, the same pain, the same prison, just with different people and different circumstances. An exact replica of your past dressed up as something new. If you want to wake up from the prediction, you have to first see that you're inside it, that you've been inside it your whole life, that everything you thought was choice was algorithm, everything you thought was intuition was complex, everything you thought was fate was programming, and once you see it, you can change it, not by thinking, by doing, by acting against the prediction until it breaks, until the past loses its power over your future, until you're finally free. If this video helped you see the prediction you've been living inside, subscribe for more insights into Jung's psychology that can transform how you understand your own mind. Drop a comment below if you recognize your own patterns in what we discussed today. And remember, consciousness is not a destination. It's a practice. See you in the next dimension. In The Alchemist's Path, perception training for empaths, you'll turn overwhelm into wisdom with practical drills, Jung-inspired boundaries, and step-by-step perception training. This guide includes 3 exclusive chapter videos to deepen each lesson. Written by Surreal Mind, 236 pages, beautifully designed 8.5 by 11 downloadable ebook, in stock now. Start your training today. Feel deeply while thinking clearly. Get The Alchemist's Path at thesurrealmind.com.